Service Alliance community. How y'all doing today?
It was really great, Zach, to see you warming up your voice before you did this monologue, this first thing you did, right? So it's very interesting. You guys should see this backstage before we go on. It's pretty crazy.
I mean, it's kind of boring actually, but
No, I just didn't know that you wear a Speedo. That was the hard part for me to fathom. That
hey,
made me feel uncomfortable, to be honest with you.
it's a Service Alliance one, so we keep the branding going. Always be marketing, right?
So it's midnight where Travis is at, isn't it? Midnight, Travis?
Almost. No, it's still sunny. No, it's 6 in the morning. So
Oh,
just turning 6, starting out strong this morning. So,
I thought you were in California, so you're not in California.
no, we're in Colorado.
Colorado.
Yep, we service Denver market. So yep, start early.
Don't you have you have another location too, right?
Well, we did have Las Vegas branch.
Okay.
That we had a technician that was, over there. Just didn't get started quick enough, in that market. That's especially with people that are wanting to open up their own business. Every market's a little bit different, and Las Vegas was a challenging market. It was nice because everything was really condensed. There were a lot of people in a small area, but it was hard to sell a $200 ticket sometimes, and then, we would sell a $1,500, $1,600, ticket, and there was just felt like the middle class in Las Vegas is kind of lacking. And that's what really, made everything a little bit of a struggle because we were either pretty busy or we just kind of tailed off, and I wanted to be able to build and have a second technician, out there, but couldn't get that quick enough. Built, before things, with the technician that we had out there, just, it's tough to manage. It's one thing is it's super tough to manage, technicians remotely, because you don't get a lot of the signs like when you're there speaking with them every single morning, the body language, how their morale is. They can kind of mask that, over the phone and stuff.
For sure.
But yeah.
Well, I think that'll kind of lend into today's topic of leadership and teams and stuff like that pretty well. So, does someone want to open us in a word of prayer, and then we'll rock and roll with it? No volunteers, I'll go. But
all right. Morning, Lord. We are here today, praising you and thanking you for being awake today. We thank you for our businesses. We thank you for our employees. We thank you for our families. And Lord, we know that this is what you hoped for, that you wished for, that we come together as brothers and sisters and share and talk, hold each other accountable, lift each other up, encourage one another, teach one another. And so we give this time to you, Lord, to do those things in your name. Amen.
Amen. So my thought this morning, this is something that EJ and I were actually, we were talking about it last night on the phone, and it's been, I kind of hit on the topic on Tuesday when we were on, but we'll go a little deeper in. So kind of leading when you don't have that title of leadership, what does that look like? And so I'm bringing back a verse from the other day, which is Mark 10:42 through 45. I actually only read one part of it the other day. So Jesus called them together and said, other nations have rulers such as the Romans. They like to show their power over people and push them around. But this will not be the ways of ones like you who walk with me. The great ones among you will humble themselves and serve all others. In the same way, the true human being did not come to serve others, but offer his life in place of many lives and set them free. And so you kind of get a glimpse into the heart of servant leadership, right? Leadership without a title, humbling oneself, coming to serve others versus, just pushing your way around, right? And then the other verse is Galatians 5:13 through 15. But you, my sacred family members, have been called to walk in freedom. Do not use this freedom to walk in weak and broken human ways. Instead, walk in love and serve each other. For all the tribal laws find its meaning and purpose in this one instruction: love your fellow human beings in the same way you love yourself. If you keep acting like wild animals, biting and snapping at each other, watch out. You may end up wiping each other out. So, what brought this topic up is like one of the things that EJ and I were talking about in my appliance business. It was always kind of like, it's my way or the highway, and like you get frustrated because like you tell people what to do and you walk them through the instruction and you share with them, and then they don't do it, and then you go through it again, right? And so I feel like in that way, looking back at it, like I failed, right? And I have another team that I work with that I've been working with for 12 years, and I don't have an official title with that. Like the tech teams at church, I don't have an official title. I kind of float around. I'm the pastor's assistant and I do it. So, but in that, like I spend more time asking people questions and trying to figure out like, okay, how can I help you be best at your job? What do you have going on this morning? And Doug, like I've heard you share from this, like, hey, what's going on in your world? You know, Susie, I don't know. I don't know what your CSR office manager, but like, what's going on in your world, Susie? And then that helps you like lead. So that's kind of where this topic is going today. Like, whether you're a technician or you're whatever, like, what does it look like to lead without the title? Because you're not the owner of the company, right? Travis, you have guys that are not the owner, they're technicians, but I'm sure you have leaders among them. So that's kind of where this topic is going. And I'm going to open the floor up for you guys, and I'm going to shut up a little bit here.
Travis, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, any type of leader that wants to be a good leader, you can't, come across as a jerk, up front, because then whoever you're talking to is going to completely shut down. You're not going to get any point across. I have one technician that has been with me for a little bit, but he helps, even my other techs out. He's great. He's kind of taken that, role, to go ahead, and he's confident, and he wants to, kind of just help where any, means need, to be helped at, and he does a great job there. And kind of helps me, take care of other tasks and stuff like that, but um you really just have to kind of level with someone, on when it comes to leadership and being able to, you know, connect, I guess, with that other person, is like the main thing. You don't want to be bullish. There's the things that I've kind of seen go wrong, because there's other leaderships, and whenever you've been in the industry for long enough, or you just work, you kind of know how you want to be led, and a lot of times it's not aggressively, and always being told that you're doing wrong and kind of putting someone down. You kind of want to uplift, people's morale, whenever you're, trying to get the best out of them.
Yeah, I mean, we all have we all have our actual tasks and job descriptions that we have to do. But for me and for you, Travis, and Zach, you at church as well, it's all about getting them to buy in to the big picture. And the reality is I don't think that I could find, if I need 20 technicians, I don't think I'm going to find 20 techs that will completely buy in and drink the Kool-Aid and treat it like it's their own business and want to do it just as Action was created and designed for. So I think that we have to rest in finding those key people, and they are your eyes and ears when you're not around, to remind them of the vision statement, to remind them what's important above and beyond fixing the dishwasher. If I know it happens from time to time. Of course, they'll never see it or hear it, but one tech may be talking to another tech and kind of holding them accountable when they're, you know, trashing the customer, or they're mad because they're not making any money on that return trip. And when somebody reminds them of the big picture, then that's pretty exciting. So that's what we're striving for, right? Is to get the buy-in. But you're not going to get it from everybody. It's impossible.
No, but how do you begin to foster that and model that? Like what's the ways that you guys have modeled that? Like the way that I share that started to work for me in the church team, because that's like I use that as an example because that's the team that I see flourishing the most in my life. And so like that's why I use that as an example. But like asking each team member questions for me in that space has helped me kind of hit on what Travis was talking about, like understanding how people want to be led. Because some people do want to be like, well, I need a checklist. Like, give me a checklist. Okay, cool. I got a checklist for you. Here you go. Here's your checklist. You go through the checklist every day. That's your responsibility. Like, and make it happen. Some people want like, hey, just ask me a question once in a while. Ask me how I'm doing. Oh, okay, cool. I can. So like, what does that look like with your teams? How have you kind of foster that?
Mine's really just holding everyone accountable, because you get resentment if you only hold some technicians accountable and others not. You let things slide, and they're like, hey, why are you not bringing this up to so and so? I've been running, behind them, and they've been, making really easy mistakes, and stuff like that. You want to make sure that everyone in your company is kind of on the same page, and even having group meetings, with everyone just to get everything, out in the open, and just make sure that everyone is, being held accountable. I've kind of have realized that it doesn't have resentment, on the lead technician or something. It's like all I'm doing is cleaning up everyone else's mistakes, and I had that previously when I first started out in this industry, being an owner, and I had 8 technicians, and sometimes I let things slide because I just didn't, want to, stir the pot, and at the end of the day, I had some technicians that were on the side of my great technicians, and they're like, well, I'm always having to run behind and fix so and so's mess ups, and then they thought that they were better than the other technicians and stuff like that, just because I wasn't nipping it right in the butt and holding everyone accountable the same way. Makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's really about the why, right, Travis? Like, you're a guy that's still on the road, is that right, Travis? You still go out and do calls every week?
Yep. Yep.
So this is a really tough time because you've got to be the full-time tech and the owner that's overseeing all the areas of the business, and then you have to focus on the 100,000 foot level, which is what is your company, and what do they stand for, and the why. Why do we do this? Why do we come to work every day? Why do we interact and work with these customers? And so I'll be praying for you, Travis. There's many of you guys out there that are trying to build your business. I know for me, and I think I said this uh, once before on the grind, when I used to go to the Asties every year and my phone would blow up and my email would go off and all these people from my company were asking for my help, I felt pretty impressive, but I was really a loser, man, because I want this business to run well when I'm not present. Just like Travis, you want your technician and the person answering your phone to answer and do everything that you want and what you desire when you're not around. And that really frees you up to spend more time at the 100,000 foot level instead of the 10,000 foot level. But letting them know why. I just lost a technician. He gave notice this week, 2 days ago, in an email to me. So he gave him his 2 weeks notice. He's a great guy. Worked for me once before, but he really struggled with who we are and what comes first, which is our customer. And so I'm not sad, even though we're going into the busy season down a guy, right? No one wants that, and my customers don't want that. We're going to be booked out farther, but like you said, Travis, it's not fair to hold one person accountable more than another, unless you make them leadership. Then if they accept that, then you're giving that official role. You can hold them accountable to the next level and have little mini Travises running around the business.
What is it? So what does it look like to lead without a title, though? Like, because you know, Kyle shared earlier, right? It's about having the right mindset in the company. If you want to be a leader, I'm an example of that. I love my job, but and he treats the company like it's his. Like,
Yeah.
So what does that look? You know, that's what I was sharing about church. Like, I don't have a title. The pastor and I were laughing. Like, I'm kind of like your PA. I just float around and make sure things get done in the morning. I don't have a title. I don't have a position. I just kind of I take ownership of certain things and just make sure that it gets done because I feel like it needs to get done. So
But
what
you're trying to figure out like what makes Zach tick that you're willing to do that. But and that's a good conversation to have. I'm just saying, Zach, once you have someone like that, how do you build them into your business so that one day if Zach decides to move on, um, that there's a gigantic hole because they became very reliant on you, but if but you first have to identify the Zachs. If I have a Zach or a Kyle, the most important thing I need to do is to continue to mentor them and then give them a title. You got to give, because I want to build the business on strong foundational blocks, and I need those people here. I need to know what they aspire to be, and then figure out where they want to be in 5 years and make sure that that fits into our business model, because I don't want to lose the best resource of all, which is great people like Zach and Kyle.
Right. Well, and I'm looking the generation behind. So we've given the title to that Zach or that Kyle, right? But what does it look like in the generation behind? How do we begin to foster that in that next layer? Because I think we always need to be building leaders. That was one of my shortcomings, was the failure to continue building leaders within. So like, yeah, I totally agree. Give the guy the title, make sure that he's lead tech or whatever, and he's taking ownership of that. But what's that look like in the generation behind? Like, how do we begin to foster that? You don't have a title, but you're a leader within the company. Because I think that's so important to continue to be leadership factories within our companies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
Well,
think it would be, making even your technicians' input kind of matter. If they do see you have to foster your business of being open and, not making them feel uncomfortable and bringing something up that they see that is possibly a problem in the company. And if you have multiple technicians that are not scared to be like outspoken, saying, hey, look, we're doing it this way, but, I feel like if we do it another way is a little bit better, and you foster that into your business, and it's more of a family business, family oriented, which always seems like those companies are always doing much better with the morale within their business, then it allows the newer technicians that come on board, saying, hey, I can be outspoken, I'm not going to lose my job, or I'm not going to get just shut down. And you will get more input from those technicians. I've had that happen before, just because for one instance, my techs were going 5 days a week and they were getting sometimes 8 to 10 hours of overtime, which I didn't mind paying, but um, they just got a little sluggish. They got burnout. Appliances, it burns you out. So, I was talking to my technicians, and multiple of them, just felt like they're getting burnt out. So I cut back to a 4-day work week, where now they're doing 4 days, but they're still hitting their 4 hour or their 40 hours that week. And the morale within my business kind of jumped up, and that was just from listening to multiple technicians on what they were dealing with, and seeing and identifying, hey, we're having a little bit of burnout. Our recalls are kind of hiking a little bit. scaling back to 4 days on, which, helps on numerous business aspects that I feel like having technicians that work 4 on. But I've gotten way better work, from them. And that's just from listening to your guys' technicians.
So let's put a title on that. That's a high feedback loop. So if you're the CEO of a business, if you're the owner, whatever, that's a high feedback loop that Travis created. He's asking questions of his team and looking for that feedback on ways to improve. It's ego-free leadership. Like, well, we've always done it this way. We're going to continue to do it this way. That's not the way to lead. What Travis did was ask the question of his team, and they had that freedom to come back. That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Like, how do we continue to foster that? I love that high feedback loop, because it works. Obviously it works. Your morale's improve, your productivity's improve just by asking a question, just by seeing what's going on.
And they can still work that 5th day, if they're, if they need extra money, they want to hit some overtime, and stuff like that. I'd let them know, like, 5th day optional, and it's better than 5 days and then a 6th day is optional, and then they only have really 1 day off, to spend with family, that's one thing that really improved.
Don't get discouraged either, because you open a whole can of worms when you convey that two-way street. Ultimately, Travis, you own the business and you know your numbers and you know what you can do and you can't do. But sometimes, you're gonna have the classic appliance guy abuse that two-way street, and not be reasonable or stir the pot with other guys. Don't second guess what Travis is doing, guys. It's important for sure, because you want to feel heard,
Yeah, I think that's so important, creating that culture of, like, how do we get better? Like, how do we continue? And I mean, that's really why the alliance works, is because we're always asking the question, how can we be better? We know we have room for improvement, right? Like, if that's the position that we're leading from, being curious, right? Like, I think for me, that's been the biggest leadership principle: being curious, willing to ask the question. Doug, you've shared, like, with your CSR, hey, what's going on? What's going on with you? How can I help you be better? Like, I feel like you do a great job of being curious. What's that done in the business for you?
It's strange. It may be unhealthy, but I've always wondered, all right, if this employee quits or gets fired, let's see if I can convey this properly. You ever deal with an angry customer and you know that they're exaggerating or they're lying, and you think, whatever I say, they're going to twist whatever I say, so that when they hang up and they go online or they tell their friends and family what happened, they're going to twist my words to make it like I'm the bad guy. And I'm doing everything I can to help them. So that's what I think about with employees. When I have to let them go, or finally they quit because they don't like the accountability aspect, how hard I want to make it as hard as possible for that employee to go, hey, Aunt Judy, yeah, I quit my job today at Action Appliance because, and like, because he was being really reasonable with me and flexible and patient. Now, obviously, they'll never say those things, but that's what's in my process all the time when I'm dealing with employees. And more than half the time, there's something going on at home, and that grace that you have for them, asking what's going on, not specifically necessarily, but what can I do to help you through this personal matter? And I don't need to know much about it, but what can I do? Well, can I come in, a couple hours later on these days? Yeah, sure. Let's be flexible with that. So it's a relation. It's a mindset thing. The whole thing's a mindset thing. Travis, your solution by shutting down a day That's the tangible part of it. But the bigger picture is your employees know that you care about them and that you're trying to set them up for success. And I've had head scratchers. I started with Action in '93, and I think that Jay made it up on the spot. He said, "I never did this before. Would you like to be straight commission? I'll give you 20% of everything that you bring in each week." I'm like thinking to myself, I'm a single guy, 23 years old. I don't have any bills or anything. So I said, sure. And I killed it. I made like 50% more than I made at the last job. That should be motivation enough. You get paid on a percentage of the work that you do when you go into customers' homes. And obviously, we're going to have checks and balances in place that people aren't overcharging or whatever. But I find some of my guys over the years have been lazy and they don't want to do that disgusting job, so that they just overquote it, or they don't quote it, or they do whatever they can. You would think that commission would be the ultimate accountability. You want to survive, you got to sell the jobs that could be or should be sold. These guys don't. So, that's just that commission is the tangible accountability tool, but the mindset is about saying to that employee, can you imagine waiting 3 days for service, agreeing to a $130 service fee? And in your head, you're literally thinking 50-50. It should be fixed. I could be fixed, or maybe I need a new one. I don't know. Let me call Action. And you go in the house, and in 12 minutes or less, you tell them that they need to go buy a new one. How do you think they're going to feel? I don't know. I don't care. I'm just there to diagnose it. No, you're not. You're there to help them through that. You're there to make their day better. You're there to not have them regret having us called. So if they want to buy a new one, help them find out which new one to buy. Spend that time with them. I only give you this many calls so that you can do and spend all the time you need with each and every customer. That's the mindset, the big picture stuff. The tangible stuff is like what Travis was talking about, the physical things you do to make it happen.
I think that goes to what you talked about on Tuesday, though. Like, not everyone's motivated by money. So, what are some other
Well,
ways to inspire?
when they're
I mean,
when they're making good money because they're making 20%, they sometimes run into the mindset of, I'll get more money later. I don't want to do this particular job. That's a tough mindset to get out of some people's heads, because I dealt with that exact same mindset from technicians too that just want to do easy stuff. I caught technicians that were, I would back then, which I still do, they were hourly at that time, and same type of mindset, but not getting paid 20% and getting paid hourly. They would go back on a part, and I caught some of them where they were like, oh, well, it got misdiagnosed. It needs this extra part. And they wouldn't put the parts that they had in the unit because it was harder and they didn't want to do the job. And they just passed the buck saying, oh, well, I might not be in this territory. The next time this gets reassigned, this will get sent over to another technician.
Yeah.
So it's just a mindset on a technician, and just their work ethic, and that's something that is really hard to kind of curve once it kind of gets there, because appliances has so many easy jobs and then you have harder jobs, and they just get in that flow of just wanting to replace ice makers or something, easy that they're in and out, and not want to do a bearing replacement or sealed system, and to get back on like your mindset that you have, with your employees and stuff, that is a great mindset. And I feel like you probably got that from mindset with customers, because there's always, some angry customers. They're just upset. There's a lot of stuff going on life, and then their washer just broke and you're there and you're getting the brunt end of all the anger that's kind of going wrong. And you just need to be compassionate, with the customer and curve, their attitude and kind of go the extra mile and kind of break down those walls of them being so upset. You've kind of taken that and molded that into how you're treating your employees, which is, fantastic. Because the same thing, we're all human, we all have stuff that goes on at home that isn't going right, and we have to go into work, and we might not be in the best mood because a lot of stuff is happening on the back end of things.
Think about three scenarios. Like somebody has a high callback rate, and you think it's probably because they don't have all the right tools, or maybe their time management is off and they're feeling rushed, right? Um, think about one of your techs who keeps underquoting. And when you talk to them, why are you underquoting? Oh, everybody's broke. Everybody's poor. They're just beating me down. I'm not going to sell any jobs unless I underquote it. Or you have somebody who kills it most of the time and then says something to you randomly, like it's a little before 3 o'clock, and he's all done. He's finished up with his last call, and we're booked out for days. And we say, hey, can you take this refrigerator call? It's it's 10 minutes away. No, I made enough money for the day today. I killed it today. I brought in $2,000. I'm up to like 40. I'm getting $420 for the day. I don't need any more calls. So of those three scenarios, that last one scares the bleep out of me. Those are people that I don't want. You hear me? I don't want people that are going to bring in $2,000 a day when they feel like it. And when they've had enough, they cut it off and don't care about our customer. Those other people, they're trainable, hopefully, and you can build into them. But those people that are toxic and only think about themselves, they really shouldn't be in our companies, because in the end, they're going to be your biggest problem eventually, So it's really about mindset the whole way through. It's pretty crazy.
It starts with us. The mindset trickles down. I mean, that's one of the things that I've seen over the years in different teams, that whether I was the employee or the employer, like it trickles down. So whoever's at the top, like if their mindset is poor, now that's not to say that, like in your case, right, Doug, because like that's not the mindset that you have. That's a case of hire slow, fire fast. But
Yeah.
overall, overarching, that mindset trickles down. And so if you have, at the top, if we have a lack mindset, like, well, we don't need to take care of these customers today because, it's just like we're busy. We're booked out 3 days and we just like, we can't even handle it. And there'll be more, down the road, or like, that lack mindset can trickle down through the team. And so how do we combat that? Right? Like we have to change our own minds. We have to work on our own selves to be better every day. And I, that I think both of you guys do a great job of that, right? Just a challenge and an encouragement for those out there. If you're in Travis's position, right? I've been in Travis's position on the road every day, getting beat up by customers and then getting beat up by my technicians, right? Do a heart check, do a gut check, do a mindset check on yourself, right? How many times you no, I'm gonna make you answer. How many times you've been out there, Travis, been like, just don't even want to do this job. Like I just don't want to do it.
Surprisingly, pretty rare, because I'm pretty motivated. Because if I get to a point like that, then I've always learned to self-reflect. If a technician is failing, then I'm failing. There's something, if I'm not getting the best out of a technician, what am I doing wrong on why I'm not able to, get the best out of them? I'm a really positive person. I always try to, and it's tough. And I think a little bit of it was like my childhood, which I loved my dad, but he was super hard and he yelled, and he is how I am in this, position. He had his own appliance and HVAC company. So whenever I was young, I was working for him. And sometimes he just got really upset. He let a bunch of small things always become big, and he would take it out and yell and, just complain. So it was a good thing for me looking back on it, because it made me start every single day with a clean slate. Like we would even butt heads, yell, scream, but I showed up to work the next day. It could have been a bad day where, it's like, you know what, I'm done working today. You've pushed the limits, but I would start the next day off with a clean slate. And looking back on it, it's really helped me out on my business, because I don't have where things snowball and I'm having all this built up, stress. And I'm like, I'm just over it. I don't feel like, you know, doing it, so that's a real tough one for me just because I don't let stuff ball up, and I know that that's not normal for everyone and everyone's personality is a little bit different, but I think that is a good mindset because when you're an owner or a manager, you're going to have so much stuff thrown at you every single day, where it's just, it gets old, it can tear you down, but you just have to clean slate it, say, you know what, life can throw me all the curveballs that it wants. I'm going to start each day in a great mood and then just see what that day does and just deal with whatever comes my way. Like I had a technician, about a month ago get in a car accident, right before I was ready to go on vacation. So I was kind of almost in vacation mode. And then boom, I'm down a truck having to figure all of that stuff out. Was I mad? It was an accident, stuff happens like that, whether it's, an accident, floor gets damaged, a call gets misdiagnosed, you just have to roll with those punches that life gives you or the business gives you, but you can't let it drag you down to a point where you're ready to like call it quits, so I don't really get to that point, it's extremely rare, I've
But
gotten to that point.
That's my point. Like that's what I wanted to draw out of you because I see that in you. Like you just gave a bunch of strategies. So if you guys didn't catch that as he was talking, it is a mindset thing. So if he feels himself starting to head that way, he does some self-reflection and goes, okay, what's going on with me? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? Why is this going on? He does a self-check and then he makes a conscious choice to flip the script. Doug, I feel like you do this too.
No doubt about it. It's and as Travis was sharing, he's wearing like 4 different hats too. So in a day, he could be dealing with some part supplier problem, and and then another day an accident, and then another time his wife and family. And so you got to wear different hats. It's definitely overwhelming. I had Dean Landers come to our uh, our our office along with our whole peer group, and they did a big evaluation several years ago, and that was Dean Landers' observation from visiting. At that time, I didn't have an office manager or a service manager, and I was doing it all. Best profitable year ever, by the way. But in the end, Dean was going, "This is not sustainable. You need to build your lanes, and you need people." And I go, "I have these people, but they're not officially titled that." And so I need to stay. And so this year has been a lot of fun, literally because I feel like I put my procedures in place pretty well. So my service manager and my office manager, is it SOPs, guys? That's all these lingo you guys are throwing around. They're really spelled out well. So now it's fun, but kind of scary to watch my service manager handle a water damage claim, because I might say something to the customer a little differently than he is, but I got to let him do it. That's how that's how I became who I am, is by doing it myself. So it's really scary to let people do it their way, even though you might do it differently. So that's been my latest challenge, in letting those people take charge, and then don't, and then be there to care for them. Like, at one point a month ago almost, we had 2 techs in SUVs because our vans were broken down. And I watched my service manager try to navigate the one spare vehicle. It didn't work. And then like 2 or 3 vans were down at the same time. And so they're driving Escalades and crap from Enterprise. And he was beating himself up. And I just came alongside. I said, you could have played that over in the multiverse 12 different ways, and you probably would have had the same scenario. It's all right. but I knew he was playing with fire by trying to coincide each appointment with each garage on each van. And I had to let it happen. So I don't know how much that cost, but I know that it made him a better manager, so.
Everyone learns the best from their mistakes. You have to, even technicians, you got to let them make the mistakes, because that's how I learned. That was the best learning opportunity that I did. Some people don't, learn from their mistakes, but I try to hold myself accountable. You're going to make mistakes. It's going to make you a better technician. It's going to make you a better manager. It'll make you a better owner. Just don't be scared to make mistakes.
Travis, I don't like it's those Zach types that read books and then they learn from the books. So like Zach learns from the books. He says these great things that I believe in and I kind of do pretty well. And then he tells me about the book. So I think Zach told me about Start With Why. And so that's the latest book I'm reading. And I'm going, damn, it took me like 29 years to figure out what this chump wrote in a book. Although I'm not sure that I would have processed it all, and I think I have to go through it more or less for myself. And I hope that you guys all don't think I plagiarize. This guy was smart enough to put it in words, but I lived it out. But the Start With Why is a great book that I'm reading right now, and that's really the key, right?
That's awesome.
That's what's great about the service lines and master binds is all these younger technicians are getting all of these great point of views from people that have done it and made the mistakes. So, I think EJ is a really good testament, on him opening up his business and getting so much input, on this group, on what things not to do, because we've done it and we've failed. So why have him start out and make the same mistakes? Learn from, experienced people that have already been there before and made that mistake so you don't make it.
That's actually how this whole topic started yesterday. Is EJ was asking me a question. He goes, hey, so I'm like in this position where I'm getting ready to do this thing and I know you did it and I know it didn't work. So like, and he's just asking for feedback. And instead of just like telling him, well, this is why I did it and this is why it didn't work, right? I've spent the last 2 months like learning from certain mistakes and just like really self-diagnosing, doing an autopsy, right? And just looking through things. And so I started asking him questions. And what you said, like, we have to be willing to learn from those mistakes. And I know we're getting close to time. So like this will have to be a whole nother morning grind. But learning from mistakes, it's so critical. Like, and I think if you do nothing else in your business, create the culture where it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because if you make those mistakes, if you have those failures, but you learn from them, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, there's so much growth. There is so much growth that can happen when you're willing to own a mistake, own a failure, and go, okay, I'm not doing that again.
For
So
some
how do I not do that
for
again?
some people, Zach. So let's just understand that when you have a bunch of employees, some feel that way and some don't. Back to my earlier comment, don't be discouraged that not everyone's buying into it. Because some people don't give a crap about that stuff and they don't learn from it, and that's okay too. Strong standard operating procedures and accountability, they'll eventually leave because they're going to be tired of being held accountable. Maybe like that's why someone just left this week. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
We can only control what we can control, though, and that's where I'm going with that. Like Travis talking about learning from those mistakes, him and his guys, and you, Doug, myself. Like we learn from those mistakes. EJ learning from my mistakes and learning from his own mistakes. Like I think that's if you create a culture at least that allows that room for that. Like there's potential for that growth, right? So.
Oh, and officially, because I'm too much of an EJ fan, I'm going to just say my response to all your EJ comments is, he's okay. He's mediocre. Just to balance it out.
Poor guy.
We got to shrink that head of his, a little bit, right?
Don't make me give him a compliment, Travis. Stop. Stop.
That's funny. All right. Well, yeah, we're getting to that time. let you guys get out there and make some money, and the rest of you guys out in the Service Alliance community. Thanks for listening to us prattle this morning. We appreciate you guys being here and listening, and I appreciate these two guys, Doug and Travis. Thank you for coming on and having a conversation. I always appreciate you guys' perspectives. I learned so much from the two of you. So
Thanks, Zach.
until next time, guys, have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.